pastels.
No way, I have a PhD in Microsoft Paint, so.
Damn.
No, I'm not talking Microsoft. I'm talking like paper or.
Yeah, I have a master's in crayon and napkins, so that's good. If you ever had an idea that you needed design work for, design work is extremely imperative. It's essentially the face of your product, right? It's the image that you're selling, right? You're selling a brand beyond a product. If you're a good founder, you know that what you're trying to sell, the company you're trying to make, goes beyond just the product. And it very much so has to do with design. So it is imperative to a company. And today we're going to teach you how to work with designers, how to communicate with them, and how to essentially work with them to maximize your opportunities there. And it's going to be a talk given by Leonard and also Tyler, who have both design skills, and they will be speaking in depth about that. So let's give them a round of applause.
All right, thanks, Ethan. Really quick, give me some examples of some well-designed products that you've come across.
iPhone.
Hack Poly website.
Hack Poly website. I wonder
Yeah.
who made that website.
I don't know.
So, what else? Rocket Direct? No. Not Rocket Direct.
At the pool.
At the
I thought
pool,
that was
okay.
a great design.
What'd you like about it?
I like that it was different in a way, because when you click on certain things, it kind of pulls up the menus differently, whereas every other iOS or like mobile application seems so boxy and so just a certain layout, and they just stick with it. No one changes it, and it's this. But at the pool, kind of had a different user interface that was unique. And was kind of
Awesome. Yeah.
Tesla Roadster?
Tesla Roadster. Okay. You don't like the Model S? No?
I like the Roadster. I like the original.
All right. So yeah, you can have like the most awesome billion-dollar design or billion-dollar idea, but if it looks like crap, then it might as well be worth $0. So great design begins with a great user experience, and a user experience that customers can relate to, and makes them happy and brings them makes them bring back or return for more. And yeah, great design attracts and maintains attention through visual communication. So the products that we spend our whole lives studying and like trying to go to school for and like pay off and whatnot, that's because of good designers. And in order to have good designers, what sets you apart is you got to grab your end user's attention and keep everything exciting. But how do we work with designers? First, we got to start off with the user experience. Designers place very high attention to detail, and user experience is like one of the main aspects of startups. So yeah, start with the user experience, and let's see. By designer, what comes to your guys' minds when you hear the word designer?
Someone that's creative.
Someone that's creative, okay. Like what kind of skills are you expecting from a designer?
I got an artist.
Artist, okay.
Organized person.
Right. So designers can have like different set of skills. They could be, you got the visual designer, the interaction designer, and the product designer. Does it solve a problem? Does it have vision? Does it contribute value to the world? So yeah, you got to approach the designer with having those like types of skills in mind. And the more complex that the problem is being solved, the more highly skilled level the designer should be. And yeah, lastly, designers pay like great attention to detail. You and your designer could get really, really well together if you just pay a little bit more attention to detail and whatnot. So without further ado, here's Tyler, and he's going to be talking about more on designers.
Greetings. From what I can tell, there's 3 different types of designers out there. You have your illustrators, you have your graphic designers, and you have your UI designers, which is your user interface designers. Throughout the duration of my presentation, you might come to the conclusion that there's a lot of overlap between these particular type of designers, in which case you are absolutely right. The lines are pretty blurred when it comes to different designers, and some designers can do what other designers can do. For example, a graphic designer might be able to create a very good user experience and is really good at interface, whereas an illustrator may not be good at that, but a graphic designer may be able to do what an illustrator could do. There's a lot of overlap, but I'm just going to go through all of them and kind of give you an idea of what each designer is kind of, what their forte is. So, a graphic designer versus an illustrator. What's the difference and whom do I go to for what? When it comes to a graphic designer, these individuals are masters of commercial art. They're masters of color, and they're known for aesthetic simplicity. Okay, so you go to these individuals if you want a low detail logo, right? You go to these individuals if you want typography, if you want calligraphy, if you want textiles, which are patterns or repeated images. When you think graphic designer, think the calligraphy of the Coca-Cola brand on a Coke can, okay? Now, a trained illustrator can typically do everything a graphic designer can do. And because of that, they typically run a little bit higher as far as rates. However, a graphic designer cannot do everything an illustrator can do. Illustrators, an educated illustrator tends to be a master of realism. They're anatomically correct. So if you want cartoons, you don't really go to an illustrator. If you want a proportionally correct either person, scenery, animal, detail-oriented art, concept designs, or even 3D concept designs, an illustrator is the one that you want to go to. When you think illustrator, going back to our Coca-Cola can analogy, think about that little polar bear on the Coca-Cola can. That was made by an illustrator. An illustrator can design the Coke can. However, graphic designers may have a more commercial application experience. For example, what color of red really pops? And what color of red really catches the eye of the consumer, which will therefore, hopefully, translate to more sales. And lastly, we have the UI designer, and this individual is layout oriented. This is the guy that you want to go to for your mobile application design, for your website design, or your software design. These individuals are the landscapers of the digital world. The very first thing that needs to be understood prior to contacting an artist is that their time, expensive supplies, and expertise all translate into money. So an artist doesn't want you to come up to them and say, hey, can you produce this art for me? And I'll throw it up on my website, and therefore you get publicity for your art. It will get your name out there. It will look good on your portfolio. They don't really want to hear all that. They kind of want to see the money. The bottom line is that they're good enough to make art their profession. In most cases, they don't need your publicity charity. So let's discuss compensation and ways to compensate an artist. They typically go by 3 different forms of compensation: royalty, lump sum per piece, or hourly. Prior to the formal work, you may request a sketch. I strongly recommend you do this. You can just kind of shoot them an email, giving them as much detail as you possibly can, but artists are a lot more visual. They don't want to read what you want them to draw. They want a representation of it. Even if it's a crude napkin drawing of what you expect, that would do wonders. And this becomes important later. I'll tell you why. Do not expect an artist or a graphic designer to draw up a free sketch, because often people change their mind and don't follow through. So they're usually going to charge you for that sketch. It's probably going to be low, but you want them to perform the sketch. That way you could make revisions and changes. Otherwise, if you wait until later, what's going to happen is that you only get 2 to 3 revisions after the artwork has been made. So you don't want to waste those revisions on miscommunications to begin with. Tell the artist exactly what you want. Leave nothing out and be as descriptive as possible in order to convey your vision. And tell them what application you expect to use their art for. They need to know if you plan on printing this art. They need to know if you plan on using this art for the web. If you choose to screen print your art, if you want to make t-shirts out of your art, that's something that they need to know about because they need to create color separations for the screen printer. And my recommendation is have them color separate the art in a different file. That way, in the event that you ever need to create packaging for your company, if you ever need to create t-shirts for your company, you have a file with the colors separated already. If you don't do this and you go to your screen printer with just your logo, they're going to charge you for that color separation. So why not get it done while you're working with a graphic designer or Illustrator to begin with. Let them know if you plan on using their art for a app, such as in what type of device you plan on using it for. The dimensions are different for an iPhone versus an iPad. So you want to let them know. And then let them know if you plan on using it for film or flash, because these are all different formats that they will have to make their art with. This way they can optimize their dimensions and choose a proper program and file format for the job. In conclusion, some final tips are, after application has been discussed, you want to write down details of what your art should look like. Say that they come back at you with a sketch that you had them do. If you want any revisions in that sketch, make sure you write it down. Do not expect them to remember, otherwise that could result in a miscommunication, which could result in a revision later on, and you only get so many. Odds are you will be paying a lump sum with 2 or 3 revisions, so don't waste your revisions on miscommunications, and give your designer a fair amount of time to complete your project, or they may charge you a rush charge. This not only gives the artist more time to add finishing touches, but also allows the artist to make sufficient revisions if needed. That's about it. Thank you.